Saying Gary Potter and Colorado Golf Hall of Fame in the same sentence is easy to do. After all, he's been a board member for well over a decade, and he's a past president of the Hall of Fame. In fact, it's his involvement with the Hall of Fame that makes tonight's ceremony what a scientist might call reluctance inductance.
I couldn't begin to enumerate how many things he's been involved in, and I know that for some period of time, and we accepted his opinion on the Hall of Fame, that he did not want to be in it because he might get accused of using insider information. This year, Keith said, we're going to get the best qualified individual, and Gary was at the top of the list, along with Tom Babb.
Tonight's story both ends and begins with reluctance. In high school, Gary didn't even want to play golf.
One of the fellows in English class said, why don't you go out for the golf team? And I said, oh, that's kind of a silly game. But I went home, got some golf clubs, and we were playing Willis Case, and on the 14th hole I hit a 3-wood that went up in the air and went probably 3 times further than any baseball I'd ever hit, and I was hooked on the game. And that same fellow said, I have a job for you at Cherry Hills in 1960. So I cut greens and tees at Cherry Hills during the U.S. Open, and was stationed on the 16th green, and the hole was cut right next to where I was stationed on that Saturday when Hogan and Nicklaus were paired together, and that was where the love of the game began.
Gary proceeded to spend a lot of time on Ted Hart's driving range developing a rather unique swing.
It's not a kind you'd see on the tour. It's not a classic swing by any stretch of the imagination, and anybody watching this video that's ever played golf with Gary, I know, will agree, and probably that's why a number of you are chuckling right now.
And Gary can quote one first-time observer.
After my swing, he says, my, there's some peculiar swings that propel the ball forward. He says, it looks like a coil.
Well, Gary and his coil have amassed a substantial list of accomplishments. Highlights of Gary's amateur career include numerous appearances in the Colorado Open and Broadmoor Invitational. Gary qualified for the 1985 U.S. Mid-Amateur, and he won over a dozen club championships at Denver Country Club, Bear Creek Golf Club, North Glen Golf Club, and Lakewood Country Club.
I always am proud of having won club championships, and at Lakewood, the match play championship there one year when Gary Longfellow had actually won the Colorado Open, the Colorado State Stroke Play, and the Colorado State Match Play. I won the club championship, so I've always told Gary that I was probably a better player than he was, which we know was not true.
Gary won the Charlie Coe Championship at Castle Pines with partner John Olive. And winning with partners was kind of a theme with Gary. In fact, he's won over 10 CGA state championships, almost exclusively team events.
Well, the only way I can win tournaments, of course, is if I have a partner who can cover up for my mistakes.
You could almost say Gary's team championships were by design. You see, in 1993, Gary joined the Colorado Golf Association Board of Governors.
In that period of time, I'd gotten involved with the Colorado Golf Association, and I was in charge of the tournament committee. And there was a dearth of tournaments for both players and juniors. So one winter, when it was cold and we couldn't play, came up with the idea that we would have a state 4-ball championship. Or then we created a parent-child or father-son championship. And of course, these were all tournaments that I knew I could probably find a partner to win with. So the first parent-child tournament, I played with all 3 sons, and Matt and I won that one.
They actually won the first 2, and Gary also won the first 4-ball. He was also responsible for creating the Mixed Team Championship and the Mid-Amateur Championship, which he was able to win all by himself. By the time Gary had become Governor Emeritus in 1988, he had also chaired the course rating committee implementing the USGA slope rating system and created a club liaison system that evolved into the CGA Rules Officials Corps that thrives to this day. His greatest impact, though, was with the juniors, starting with securing Colorado's place in the Junior America's Cup team matches. And with such a condensed junior season and so many different associations and groups trying to run junior events, Gary saw a need.
With the help of Ralph Moore and Earl Sveningen, we got together and decided that what we would do is have one association that would be responsible for the conduct of all junior tournaments, so that on any one Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever it may be, there'd only be one event.
And so was born the Colorado Junior Golf Association. Gary would help add age divisions to get more kids involved and succeeding, and this led to the Junior All-Star teams. Today, the CJGA is Colorado's premier competitive junior golf organization, serving over 800 of Colorado's top junior players. Gary was also able to get the CGA back into the Pacific Coast Golf Association. This provided tremendous playing opportunities for Colorado's top amateurs.
The Pacific Coast Amateur also allowed young players like Steve Jones and Terry Call to find their way from Yuma, Colorado, or the suburbs of Denver into a very competitive competition at the Olympic Club or LA Country Club, where they saw that they were as good as these other players. And I have a hunch that because of those competitions, those fellows became much better players earlier. They probably would have still won the mid-amateur championships or the U.S. Opens, but they were exposed to a competition that allowed them to see how good they really were.
Gary was able to get Colorado back in by joining the Pac Coast Association Board in 1974, which he still serves on to this day. In 1977, he was president and tournament director when he brought the Pacific Coast Amateur to Denver Country Club. And 3 years later, he would bring an even more prestigious event to Denver Country Club.
I was asked by Jack Vickers to become a member of the Transmiss Board. I didn't know it was because he wanted me to run the tournament at Denver Country Club in 1980, but that's what happened. And that 1980 Transmiss at Denver Country Club has, as history has shown us, the players in that tournament have won 10 major championships. People like Freddie Couples, Mark O'Meara were participants there. So the names that populated the Pro Tour for the next 20-25 years were at Denver Country Club in 1980. And that was one of the highlights of my little administration career, in that I was able to put that tournament together.
21 years later, Gary would serve as co-director of the 2001 Transmiss 4-Ball at Denver Country Club. And most recently, he was the chairman of the 2010 Transmiss Championship, also at DCC. Gary is in his fourth decade of serving on the Transmiss Board of Directors. Gary has also volunteered his expertise to the USGA, having served on the Mid-Amateur Committee and the Sectional Affairs Committees for both Colorado and Arizona. He also volunteered yet another skill set to the Colorado section of the PGA.
As a further indication of the respect that Gary has in the world of golf in Colorado, he was the general counsel for the PGA section in Colorado for I can't remember how many years, but I think that was a tribute to the esteem the professional golfers held him in.
As a player, an innovator, an administrator, and a leader, we welcome Gary Potter to the Colorado Golf Hall of Fame.